Hey, Rhinestoners. Welcome back to episode 14 of Rhinestone.
Down.
We missed everyone last week. We're back though.
Oh my goodness. I
How are you guys doing?
mean, we went from hand, foot, and mouth
Yeah.
to pink eye with a fever. That hit the whole house except for my oldest, which was actually great because, as I told you before, it's like hard to keep her out of school.
Yeah,
They
totally.
really, once you're in public school, they want you there. Um, But it's just, you guys, this is just what happens when you have a baby that you have to send to daycare. It's the unspoken thing where it's like
Yeah.
you unfortunately, month after month, have to watch your infant get sick and battle through basically every single one. You know what I mean? It's
So
like you just hit
hard.
him one by one. But she's been such a trooper and we're better now. I'm still, you can still like hear it for me. Like these residual coughs are crazy. They last for so long.
I feel like that's how everything is though these days.
I
Like if you get
know.
sick, I feel like it always now comes with a side of like persistent cough.
And the
Because
doctors
you
said
like the
that's
doctors will
normal.
say to you like, "Oh yeah, totally cool, totally normal." I'm like, "Is
Thank
it
you.
normal?" Because that wasn't normal 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
Never.
20 years ago. I think it's so weird that we're just like, "Oh yeah, totally cool, persistent
Yeah.
cough."
I saw this TikTok of this girl being like, it was 15 seconds long, and she's like, "Stop yourself. Can you breathe through your nose right now? Check that privilege." I was like, it's so true. Like, once you can't breathe, once this doesn't function, sore throat, no,
Worse.
it makes me so grumpy.
Breathing through my nose is everything.
It makes me
Gotta be
so
able.
mad.
Yeah.
I have plans to have just like one or two adult beverages and watch my Summer House. And when you have to watch Summer House stone cold sober, it does hit in a different way,
Does
you
it?
know?
Yeah, I could see that. That's I think when I first binged it, I was, completely sober. It was like during the day. It was like marathon.
Yeah, I could see.
You're like
Okay, I could
watching it, you're
see
like, what is happening?
literally what is happening. What is Lauren Workus doing right now? Or no,
Yeah.
you haven't gone back that far. You still need to go back that far to the
I don't
Workus
know if that's going to be
season.
happening at this point.
I think you would actually love that era because that is where it was more New York. It was
Yeah.
more about what these people were doing during the week and then them having money to come out to the summer house.
Yeah.
And that part, I think, for someone who lives in New York would be interesting. It's
Well, I
in of
also
itself
think
that
like the
way.
Hamptons was better back then.
They could
Hamptons
film
sucks now.
more. Right.
Yeah.
That I
It's not so great.
Yeah, Danny Pellegrino always talks about that. He's like, if the issue is that the Hamptons has really clamped down on filming. They do
Yeah.
not want these shows to come to the Hamptons and make
Yeah.
it there. So that is why we see so much of the summer house shot at the summer house. Whereas to your point, in the early seasons, they were out. We were seeing like
Yeah.
that glamour that we talked about from Rachel Zoe.
I mean, yeah, even the fact that they were able to film in Montauk like that was crazy.
Okay, now have you done a
Wow.
Montauk Hamptons moment?
No, I've actually never been.
Yeah, we see, but
So
I want to
sad.
do
I
that
feel like I
with
missed my
you.
window. Look, I think any time that I had free time, I was just coming back to California.
Oh, I mean, which is its own.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
you were doing Napa summers instead
But
of
that's what I'm saying.
Hamptons.
Or slow,
Yeah,
or Santa
yeah,
Monica,
yeah,
or I don't know.
yeah.
So it's
I was
hard.
telling I was telling my daughter that we could, did she want to, instead of maybe doing a birthday party, did she want to go somewhere?
Yeah.
You know, and I was kind of telling her the places that we could go. And I was saying, we could go to the ocean. We don't have to, we don't have to get in a plane to go to the ocean. And she goes, yeah, we could go to the ocean, but that's not Moana's house. She knows Moana's house is getting in a plane to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, okay. So not interested.
I was
Only
like, you're right. It's just the ocean. Silly me for thinking that would be cool.
not enough. What do you mean? Why would she pick the California coastline when she could have Hawaii?
I was like, okay, yeah. Anyway,
Trouble.
trouble.
Well, I feel like a disturbing trend is happening every time we've had a podcast recently. We're just talking about someone that's passed.
Can we go through them?
Do you remember? Well, I mean, last time it was James Vanderbeek.
Catherine O'Hara previous to him.
Yeah,
There's one more that I know jumped this whole thing off that now oh, Eric Dane.
Eric Dane.
Eric
Did we even
Dane.
talk? No, we.
We
I
didn't
don't
even
even know if we.
talk about Eric
I don't
Dane.
even know we did talk about Eric Dane. All
I
right,
know.
that
D-
happened
I,
way too long. It's just sad, man. This is me. It's just it's death is all around us. Now Robert Cosby Jr. think it's like rocking the Bravo universe right now. His sad passing. Um,
Devastating.
I mean, what do you even say? Every
There's
parent's
nothing that you can say.
worst nightmare, right?
I listen. Think for me, what's like most troubling or I guess haunting in some way is hearing him say on camera not that long ago about how hard it was for him to exist on this earth
Totally.
and like being so open and knowing like how he was so aware of his own bottom.
Yeah.
um
His
and
pain was
then
palpable. Like you could feel it like in those scenes.
from what we understand, and I don't want to speak on anything that I'm not knowledgeable on, but like from that moment then continued to fight, then
Yeah.
continued to like seek help, and try. And so it's just devastating on a lot of different levels that
Yeah.
like, he definitely was honest with what was going on. And it's just, yeah. I mean, but also, I would say this, it's like for someone who is totally, totally um balanced, happy, content in their life,
Yeah.
this has been the hardest 8 months for all of us for so many different reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can only imagine for those of us who struggle with mental illness,
Yeah.
health, right? That it's like, yeah, the constant barrage of like terrible news that has to
Yeah.
weigh a little bit too, and then your own, like compounding your own issues.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, I feel like they've definitely shown him a lot on the show. And I think, like, I think in some ways his story is sort of like a testament to, again, just like the power of addiction, right? Because he is insanely privileged, right? Like we've watched him as a young boy and how Mary dotes on him and things like that. And I think that's the sad part. It just sort of shows like really anyone can be, susceptible to something like that. And it's, I think even watching him on the show, you did sort of see as a viewer, like even there was, I think, a season where you like barely saw him. And then the next season was like when Mary was, I think, more willing to talk about what had actually transpired
And
and
then we saw his
happened.
wife that he had then
Yeah. So I think
divorced.
even that as a viewer, it's sad. Like I do think we sort of watched him, just on a downward slope, which is really like sad to see that he ultimately, again, wasn't able to sort of tame the beast. Um, but it's also just, the whole thing to me is still just so crazy in terms of the wider context of like Mary. And I think you just have to be like curious in these situations, like, just like what's happening like within their family right now. And, I don't know. It's really interesting to kind of think about. We talked on the pod about like the HBO special and things like that. And it's like, I don't know. There's just I think it's like everyone's naturally curious of just what it was, like for him, right? Like growing up and being a part of that
Well,
church and, like, his story is not one that we're ever really gonna
mhm.
have now at any point. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's just sad. I mean, obviously feel really bad for Mary Cosby. It's a tragic, tragic thing to happen. I think I saw that they were I guess they're filming right now.
I
So
heard.
I think that will be interesting. I'm sure that, we can expect not, that we're gonna be at the funeral or anything like that. I think that would be a little invasive, but I'm sure that's gonna impact now probably how the season sort of, you know, goes and maybe certain things they might have planned. So it's just really sad.
I think that, putting that in like an upper shelf and not trying to speak specifically to that. I think going back to what you had previously said, kind of around, the documentary and things like that. Yeah, there is if you think about the movie Footloose, like there is a stereotype of being a preacher's kid, a PK, right? That it's tough.
Yeah.
It's difficult. If nothing else, there probably is a level of, because I am prominent in this church, you need
Yeah.
to show up correctly, right?
Yeah, the
Like,
expectation level is high.
and so yeah, that's, I'm just noting that, right? That is the reality of the situation, is that Mary, is, maybe doesn't call herself a preacher, right? But is that
Yeah.
same figurehead.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's difficult. So, but yeah, in
Yeah.
general, just
It's very,
thoughts and
very sad. And then we touched on Eric Dane, I don't think I could bring myself to watch his Netflix special. I have watched a couple of the clips, which are just heart-wrenching to see. I also don't know how I feel about this format, because they had Jane Goodall
Mhm.
also do one of these where it
I mean,
aired after. It's the same because I think isn't this Gwyneth Paltrow's husband that does
posthumously.
these Netflix interviews, that air. So I watched one with Jane Goodall that was like after she passed.
Couldn't
And
have
so
even told you that that's what Gwyneth Paltrow's husband does. Good for him
this
for
is,
actually
well, I
having a
mean, and
career.
yeah, this is the thing now that Eric Dane has done as well. So I've seen these clips of him talking to his daughters. Um,
That's so
I think
difficult.
I think the message to his daughters though is one that everyone should watch for sure.
Mm. Hmm.
Like even though it's obviously specifically to them, I think there's things that we all can kind of take away from it, but it's sad. It's
Mm.
just too much death going on right now. I don't like it.
I know. And the ALS thing, it's like, yeah, that's why we were pouring water buckets on our head 10 years ago. Like actually the research and the all of the money that went into that, really, if you Google ALS water bucket challenge, I would encourage everyone to do it.
Yeah.
There was a ton of money that was raised from that, and actually a lot of research that has been done, even in the last decade, which is so encouraging. But then you see a case like this, and it just brings you back to the reality that this disease is like, it moves so freaking quickly from diagnosis to um, end of life. So yeah, it's just it's so scary. It's that
Yeah.
that does, just like as a hypochondriac, freak me out. But
Ugh.
ugh.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like two ways. Like sometimes I think it's good to face it. Like, I'm obsessed with Shrinking on Apple
Oh
TV.
right.
And they
Oh.
have Michael J. Fox this season, which is obviously
Mm.
like really hard to
Hmm.
watch, but he's obviously playing someone with Parkinson's and
Hmm.
Harrison Ford's character is someone dealing with Parkinson's. And I do think in some
Hmm.
ways it's good to have that representation, to
Yes.
be able to sort of see like what that path looks like. Because they have obviously progressed with the character. It's not like he's just like has Parkinson's and that's it. Like he
Hmm.
is sort of declining slowly as the
Right.
show goes on.
Right.
So, sometimes I think it's good to see, but I'm with you. It's definitely like it's very getting old is hard.
It is.
You have to confront all of these things in a different way.
I would make a recommendation. So not the series, just to think about if you're wanting to maybe delve into something like that, but have an experience that's incredibly uplifting. So Dying for Sex was a podcast that came out, I think, like 3 years ago, and then they made it into a show with Heath
Michelle
Ledger's,
Williams.
right.
Yeah.
I would say the podcast is the real, because that's actually the real best friends. It's the
Okay,
actual
because I
real
tried to watch
endeavor.
the show and like I love Michelle Williams, so it was not about
Same.
her. I don't know what it was. I just couldn't get into the show.
Me too. But the podcast is incredible and probably just should have stayed a podcast, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Dying for
that's
Sex.
fair. Sometimes it's like not everything needs to be translated. Well, speaking of things that have been translated over, we lost a real one during our break off because I'm really sad I don't get to watch Tell Me Lies. anymore. It's over.
And that
Millennials,
ending.
honestly, like I think for millennials everywhere, it's just a really sad moment. We love, I mean, this is why we like, the summer I turned pretty. We love our shows with our nostalgic music, okay? The
Mhm.
music that we grew up with. And I have to say, like, even though Summer I Turned Pretty, like, would have a lot of that too, there also is a lot of Taylor Swift. Tell Me Lies for me has been like one of my favorite shows in terms of music choice.
I agree.
Like
I
I feel
agree.
like they've really gone there and it because
Yeah.
they're playing like yes, some of the ones that we all know, but then they're also just taking like artists that we really loved and then picking more obscure songs within their
Mhm.
catalog.
Yeah. Yes.
Like some of the Modest Mouse songs, I was like, not everyone would probably know this Modest Mouse song.
Yes.
Whereas like, anyways,
Yes.
I just can't believe it's over. But
I
I, but I,
know.
I will say I have like a deep respect for, a creator like having a vision for an ending and saying this is going to be it. I do think we need more of that. As much as
Yeah.
I'm sad that it's done, um, we have a lot of shows that I think are continuing to go on right now that don't need to. And so I do feel while I'm sad, like it was complete. It was
It
a
was.
very, very much a complete story. And it
Right.
ended in a way where, you know, I have closure. I feel
I
good
have closure.
as a
I
viewer.
saw a lot of people on TikTok being like, Bree and Wrigley need a spin-off, and I'm like, no,
No.
no, we're good. That story doesn't have anything left to say. The story's been told. We know what's going on there. We're
Well, they're
good.
gonna get together for sure.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
that's the whole that's
I don't need to see that. I'm like, they're happy. They're gonna get they're probably the only ones. They're gonna get, well, no, that's not true. Diana, I think, will also. But no. Yes.
yeah.
So the ending was very controversial, I think, is what I saw. What did you think about the ending?
Okay, so this is what well, okay, first of all, I think I saw some criticism around we've never laughed in this show. Why are we laughing? And I
Ian.
texted I texted
I've been sitting there triggered by all this trauma and like letting it stir up all the things that happened to me that were similar, and now it's just one big laugh.
which
So
you guys,
funny.
I will say, I read the book, and it's like the book is so different, obviously, but also the book, you're reading the book of Tell Me Lies, and you're literally just like, this dumb fucking bitch. I mean, you hate her. Hate her. There is no redeeming quality, like nothing. And so actually, I think what's the actress's name? They're dating in real life, and I just watched their variety or saw their variety spread. Ah,
Oh, Lucy's name. Oh yeah, I always forget her name
Lucy's
too. This is
name.
really bad. We should know her name.
I'm so sorry. Hold on. Let's
I,
just it'll take me absolutely
no,
two
as soon
seconds.
as I
Okay.
hear it, it's gonna
Grace Van
frustrate me.
Patten.
Lucy, huh?
Grace
Yes.
Van Patten.
Thank
Okay. Grace
thank
Van Patten and her little boyfriend,
I knew Jackson White's name.
Jackson White. Okay.
I don't know why.
I did
I
know that she was Grace. I feel like I knew that her name was Grace.
Yes,
But
I think
anyway,
it's the last name that I get tripped up on, Van Patten.
yeah, I mean, good for her for keeping that. But anyway, so that was some of the stuff I said. Like, why are we laughing? But then what I texted you and where I see it is like, I told you it was very Succession coded to me
Yeah.
because the commentary in Succession throughout was like, you are not serious people. And all that the three of them, four of them, sometimes Connor, was trying to prove was how serious they were. And in the last episode, what becomes so clear in that conference room is
Yeah.
how unserious they are, right? Like
Yeah.
how petty, how stupid,
Totally.
how unhinged, right? And so that I felt like was very I think a good lens to put that because it was almost like you guys, like everything that we have done to each other is
Is fucked.
so and also so and that's also why I loved Pippa, let's leave. Yep. Because
Yeah.
it's like that outside
Out.
person looking in and being like, this is mess.
Yeah, like
Like,
we don't need to be
no.
a part of this, and they're gonna be fine, the two of them. They're happy. They don't
Oh
need
my
these
God.
friendships anymore. I
No, I
think
really
for me,
liked
it's
it.
a commentary like on a lot of things, and I think you'll relate to this a little bit in that, I of course still know people that have maintained like friendships like this,
Yes.
right? But I
Yes.
think in some ways it is a commentary on people we also know who have maintained these friendships, and it is at like it's toxic, right? It's not really like, and they're like holding on, like
Hmm.
I think that is a millennial problem to a certain extent. So
Hmm.
that to me is interesting. It's like, yeah, you do have these
Hmm.
friends maybe from college. Should you still be friends? Does it make sense to
Hmm.
still be friends or those honest
Hmm.
friendships and relationships?
Hmm.
If they are, great, right? But I think a lot of people are holding on and they're not. They're like really sort of messed up dynamics and things like that.
Yeah, as Jay-Z would say, the walls got taller, the circle got smaller, and after all of that, still got love for you. And that's how I feel, where it's like, you're not in my tiny circle now, but I wish you well.
Yeah, it's like you're no longer disturbing my peace.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I feel like everyone is always going to have a problem with an ending of a show like this that has this much like attention, publicity, whatever. So I think you can sort of expect that people aren't going to be happy. Um, I mean, to me it made sense. What I thought was sort of interesting was people debating
Oh,
whether
yeah.
or not Lucy was like new and was sort of like leading, Stephen down this path, or if she was genuinely sort of caught off, you know,
Hmm.
caught off guard by him and leaving her, and then
Hmm.
I didn't really get that debate because to me it's so clearly the latter.
Hmm.
Like her laugh only makes sense if she really thought she was leaving with him.
Hmm.
So I don't understand people who think that like, oh, that was her still like orchestrating it all the way to the end. Like she knew he would do that. Like, no, she was basically going down the same toxic path again.
Hmm.
He did
Hmm.
what he does to her again.
Hmm.
And her laughing is having that realization. And then I think, the more the laugh goes on, it's like, okay, the second part of the realization is like, okay, I'm free,
Hmm.
right? But
Hmm.
I don't know. Did you what do you think? Do you see the other?
I no, I'm with you. My read was
I didn't get that.
here's my read because I've been there. So here's my read. Is like you're in that car and you're going through the motions and
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna do this thing. And then you're walking around that AM PM and you're like, I'm doing this thing again. Like, okay, like, wow, this is gonna suck. Like, I
Yeah.
know what this is. And then when she comes out and he's not there, to me, that laugh is like relief of like, oh my
Yeah.
God, thank God. Like, thank
Yeah,
God.
but I still think she was going through with it. So I
I
think
do
people are crazy.
too.
He was buying stuff for him inside of the gas station.
I think that Lucy still has such issues with Lucy that
Totally.
she was like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna do this all over again.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
there's
buy
nothing
these
left.
coffees. There's nothing, right.
What
He's
choice do
telling
I
me it's
have?
gonna, and then when she came out and he made that decision, she's like laughing because she's like waking up for, and being like, no,
Yeah.
I didn't have to go do that again. I did. Thank God. I think to your point, yes, I am of the belief that whether it was based in hope that it would work or self-destructive self-hatred of just going along with this thing
Yeah.
because whatever she thought they were moving forward.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, he made that final decision. And maybe, and that's where I do think you have some Stephen apologists, right, who then on the other side would say he's making that decision for her.
Yeah.
Maybe, right, if you love it, let it go. you
I mean,
you could argue
I saw something with Jackson White where he was like, to him, the most hilarious part was just like he's still getting away with everything. But I do
everything.
think that, and again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about being realistic about millennial friendships and things like that. Um, I do think a large part of what the show is sort of, leaving you with is that life is unfair. I mean, if you boil down the message of the show, that's kind of the point, right? And I think like people, understandably were frustrated that like the professor, whatever, and his wife didn't like get their, just desserts. And like I totally understand that as a viewer. You want everything to be kind of like tied up in a bow, But it's like one, we don't know if maybe in the future he does get what's coming to him. Two, sometimes people just get away with stuff, right? And that is the story of Stephen DeMarco, is like he just gets away with stuff, you know?
Well, that's
So I think that is sort of something where, it's one of those like harder parts of life that we do have to confront. I think that's why the show
yes.
was so popular, because everyone is sort of reminded of that at different points and it reflects that very well. Like some people just are luckier than you, or they just get away with things, or they're a bad person and it's okay, it is what it is. It
That
sucks.
That's so real because you still see things, or people will still say, that's okay. They'll get there in theirs in the end. Karma is real, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, you guys, in my experience, that's not true. Trust me. I mean, honestly, look at the presidency. I'm sorry, but like, why do we all need to be reminded of this? That like, no, like a lot of the times people do horrible things and they're put in the ground with like 40 people around them praising their name
Yeah.
and we don't know about it until way later, So I think sometimes I will say in the corporate world, especially, it
Yeah.
is incredibly advantageous for everyone to take that thought away from your brain. Don't think about, oh, that person is going to probably be the CEO of a company in 10 years. You just have to kind of get that out of your head and
Yeah.
just keep pushing,
Yeah. It's not a fair and just world, but
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss these characters. I think like, one thing I also want to say is I feel like sometimes throughout the series there's been sort of jokes about, Grace and Patton as an actress, and I just think that that is entirely unfair.
Yeah,
I think she's an incredibly skilled actress. I think some of
agreed.
the things that she's been required to do and show, like the emotion that she's had to deliver in her face based off of some of these scenarios,
Hmm.
which are also wildly different and unique because of all the ridiculous stuff that she's getting herself into all of the time. Um, in particular, I have to call out the scene where she gets kicked out, right? Where she goes into the dean's office.
Yeah.
I mean, give the girl an Emmy. What are
Mm-hmm.
we talking about? Like, that felt so real. Like,
Yeah.
you were like
Yes.
in the room with her, like wanting to like reach out and like, help her because
I
you could
know.
tell she was just so zoned out. And I just thought that was played so well because that is exactly what someone, with her sort of trajectory at that point in the story, that is
That's
how
how
it
they
would
would
go,
react.
right? Like that's how,
Right.
like I just thought that was brilliant. So I'm really, I don't know. I don't think it's fair when people sort of critique her as an actress. To me, she sort of has carried the series in a lot of ways.
Well,
And like
okay.
no offense because I do like this cast of characters, but I just want to like call it right now. Like in terms of who I think we're most likely to see on the screen again anytime soon. I feel like it's going to be her. That's just I don't know. We'll see. But some of the other actors and actresses, I'll be surprised. I think to see what
I
their next
agree.
like, sort of project is. So
Yeah. You know, okay, not to go back in time, but this is how I felt. I know that you couldn't get through it, but this is definitely how I felt about Heated Rivalry too, because you also had a lot of people come out and be like, what's going on? Where's the acting? And I think that sometimes there is levels to acting where it's like, okay, Leonardo DiCaprio is this like actor's actor.
yeah,
I mean, he can embody someone and for the most part lacks that George Clooney quality where it's like sometimes I don't remember it's Leo. Like sometimes I
yeah,
really am like into whoever it is that he's portraying. And then there are people that bring a feeling to the screen. And I think that that's like a totally different thing. I would argue from what I'm seeing about Wuthering Heights, kind of a similar commentary, right? Where it's like
totally, yeah,
they're not act acting, right? What they're doing is like probably spend a lot of time building their chemistry
yeah,
off screen to then bring that on screen and create a moment where, you're having a physical visceral reaction in the movie theater to the thing that you're watching. that's a different thing and that's a different skill and I think still should be very respected and rewarded. And so to your point
Yeah,
about like that moment with Grace, it's like, yeah, like you're bringing raw emotion to the screen in a way that like you have to understand there was like 50 people in the room filming her while she was doing that. And that's incredibly impressive.
I agree. Yeah, I think
And
she's
it's so
shown quite
hard.
a bit of range.
I agree because also then you do have to have those moments of like I'm a 20-year-old girl in college and make that believable.
Yeah,
So the swing of that pendulum is very, very vast.
yeah. Well, I love them together. I love them together on the show. I love them in real life. It's very cute. I hope they stay
Yeah, I like them
together.
in their little undies doing
I
their
hope we
little
get a new millennial-esque show like this. It wasn't just the songs too. It was sexy. I think that's also what people like about
That's
it
what I
too.
mean. There
Be
was like
real.
so much chemistry on screen that like there's a lot of stuff that I think we're supposed to think is sexy.
But it's not.
Oh, like um oh, what is everyone obsessed with that Ariana Madix is the
Oh,
host of?
Love Island?
Like I think the basis of that show is that it's supposed to be sexy. And it's like,
No,
what?
it's just to me that's more just like what's the word I'm looking- I mean, yes, I guess, but
Gratuitous?
huh? Yes, thank
Gratuitous?
you. It's
Okay.
gratuitous. I think it's gratuitous.
Okay. I do too. Maybe and maybe that's what it is that you're watching it. It's like the Jersey Shore. You're
Us
watching
prudes
it
over
like
here, we're like, I don't want to see you shaking that ass
I
in front
just
of
don't
on
care.
TV. No, I mean it's just yeah, they're like always all in their bathing suits, and it's
Okay.
we like a little intrigue. If you want sexy, we're not going to talk about this now, but everyone needs to be watching Love Story,
Oh, what's up?
JFK and Carol.
Oh, yes. Oh, the JFK. Sorry, I keep on calling it the
The
JFK.
new Ryan Murphy show.
You guys.
I mean, the chemistry that these two actors have, it is so sexy. Every episode has been sexy. Nothing, they're not even doing anything. It's just like every time they're like near each other, like great. I actually think I saw that Gen Z is like obsessed with the show because they're so nostalgic for the 90s.
Yes, and
So they like can't get enough apparently.
hold on.
And actually, no, I was going to ask you about this because now maybe you've seen because you're more on TikTok than me. Apparently, because of the show, all of these like fashion girlies that worked at Calvin Klein in the 90s
Mhm.
are on TikTok talking about their experiences and things like that. So, but yes, Rhinestoners. Maybe we'll talk about it next week after you've watched some episodes. I think
Okay,
I
yes.
think you
And
would enjoy it.
what I was looking for was okay. So there was a book that came out by Elizabeth Beller. It's called Once Upon a Time: The Captivating Life of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. I listened to it as an audiobook on
Hmm.
Spotify. You guys, listening to that or reading that and then watching the love story,
Yeah.
it's so good because you like the Calvin Klein of it all that you were just talking about. He loved her. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
he regarded like what they're showing is not exaggerated for screen, right? Like he really regarded her as a tastemaker and
totally.
then what was it? Narcisco Cavalli?
Narcisa Rodriguez.
Right, Rodriguez, right? Which I used to wear his perfume, by the way, in like that
I know
opaque.
that I was just asking my boyfriend earlier today. I was like, "Do you know who that is?" No.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
He calls him Narcy on the show because they were like good friends.
And in that book, because the book is an actual biography of her life. And so it's told through the story of people who actually did know Carolyn,
Yeah,
right? And it goes from her early childhood into her death. And yes, like even that, how much Narcisco, who made her wedding dress, right? Like how much he and or she put him on and he put her on. And so, I, yeah, I just love we complain sometimes about IP, and I do think an old clip resurfaced of Sarah Jessica Parker on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy was asking her because she dated JFK, and so this was probably like a 15-year-old clip. Watch What Happens Live has been on for so long.
I
It's
know.
unbelievable.
It is
But
amazing.
and so he was asking her about kissing and like was he a good kisser? And she gave some and then at the end said if he was still alive I'd probably be a lot more comfortable talking about this, but the reality
Yeah.
is like he's not here. And she was very very good about
Yeah.
her answers. And so I know that this is kind of sensitive because these people have passed. So to say like I love original storytelling is kind of gross. But I love this kind of like we're finding these are American stories. Why can't we
Well,
tell them?
that's exactly. I will, and you and I were sort of talking about this the other day, but like, what is so wrong with feeling pride, I think, in our American stories, to your point? Like, they
It's
are
dynasty family.
effectively the closest that we have to royalty,
Right.
some of, and there's maybe a couple other families I would consider. Um, it's great. You will love it. Watch it. We'll talk about it more next week on the
I
pod.
would caution everyone though, like, and I really do mean this. Once you start to get into Kennedy lore, it is a quick trip to Grey Gardens. Like you go deep. Like I have gone so deep that I've gone Grey Gardens, I've gone Drew Barrymore Grey Gardens, and then I had to go what's his face Grey Gardens, which is the spoof that he did on YouTube. What's his name? Who was dating Ali Wong for a second?
Bill
Hater.
Hader.
Bill Hader did a Grey Garden spoof where he's Edie, and they actually shoot it at like a decrepit house in Montauk. It is one of the greatest things to exist on YouTube ever, but
I
it
do like Bill
is
Hader. He's funny.
the Kennedys are like they remain so fascinating to
Oh
me.
yeah. I mean, there's certain scenes with Jackie where I mean, because again, we don't really know if these conversations likely did not happen. But it's just fun to sort of drift off.
Peeking.
Maybe they did. Maybe something similar to this was discussed, you just don't know.
Well, I do know everything that they're gonna show in future episodes about like her going out to the family house and the dinner table and some of the ways in which like people were being like tested
Yes.
and all of that. If you that book that I'm talking
Yeah.
about, all of that's true. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, that's the most recent episode is like her getting tested.
that is to the T of what that was like, right?
Yeah,
So
I
I
can't even
just
imagine. Be
not
rough.
imagine. Okay.
Um, well, okay, something that we did watch that I thought you and I should talk about, especially because like it's kind of like millennial culture. Like we were watching America's Next Top Model from the very first air date. I think
Mhm.
like people need to understand, and like other millennials will get this, but like with some of these shows, so this is like for our Gen Z Rhinestoners. Um, yes, this show was on UPN. But you and I already watched UPN for other reasons, if I
Correct.
remember. Like we'd watch some of their daytime programming.
Moesha,
Yeah. And so it was already like a channel that we were aware of. And then I also think, back then, like marketing was what it was. I'm pretty sure we would have seen things for it leading up to it.
yes,
Um, because I know for absolute certain that we watched it upon like the very first
without
air
a doubt.
night. Because you had to,
Without a
otherwise
doubt.
it would be gone. So I was pretty excited to see that Netflix was going to be doing a documentary about it because I will say candidly, I had no idea that there was this like resurgence and obsession with the show during COVID. I know they mentioned that. I was not
I did
aware of
that.
that.
That didn't clock to me either, and I realized maybe that was kind of a Gen Z phenomenon.
Yeah, which makes sense. Like I get it. Like people were like,
Hmm.
basically going through everything that was available on the internet at that time. So that was interesting to see. But um, it is one of those things where like I've definitely wondered from time to time, like what happened there, right? And I think also we've been like all vaguely aware as well of like Tyra's sort of disappeared. I know that people like to say that she hasn't, but she disappeared. I
No, she
mean, like, and I
disappeared.
and I think it's been intentional. Like she's literally in Australia, right? She's like living
Yeah.
in Australia, like
Yeah. With her hot
so.
coffee or her
And I
hot
think
ice
that just
cream.
it added to the mystery of it all, right?
Mm.
Because it was like here was someone that we were seeing like all the time,
Hmm.
and then
Work.
kind of like poof.
Yeah.
So I was really excited when I saw the original documentary. I was even more excited when I saw that she was on it. And when I watched the trailer, I just was like, I cannot believe that she agreed to do this.
Yeah.
That to me, just like at the front, was the most shocking thing before we even like get into it. I just cannot believe that she actually agreed to participate.
And I did hear potentially, I don't want to say like blackmailed, right? But I do think it could have been one of those situations where they were like, this is happening with or without you.
Yeah,
It would be better with you.
totally. I'm sure she waited. I'm sure that she talked to a lot of people. I'm not saying like she was given the right advice. I think, I mean, look, there's two ways of thinking, I think, in a situation like that. And I agree with you. I'm sure they were like, okay, either you go on and tell
A
your side of
story.
things or it's going to be told for you, you know.
Mm.
Um, so I think it was like 3 episodes overall, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like like a lot of millennial cultural things, it was very triggering. Like
What
I
were we doing to
I
ourselves
say
back
I love
then?
these documentaries, but like, the Victoria's Secret one, like it's just every time I get to the end of them and I'm just like, what was going on?
What were we doing?
What were we watching? Like I
And we
just
and I say this to my husband all the time when we're because when we're watching things like the so I say all the time, but it's always when it's like the Grammys, the Super Bowl, right? Like things like this that brings out our musicians and stuff. Where I kind of am like, we existed in a complete Rihanna is playing 3 years ago, is up on the Super Bowl, going up and down. She's 37 years old, got 3 kids. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like when you and I were growing up, it was like, here's this 15 prepubescent girl.
yeah,
Oh, and by the way, she's wearing pants that are so low you can see her pelvic bone. You know what I mean? Like the beginning to her nether
totally different.
regions. And like that, I do think there's in some ways we haven't come far at all, and then in other ways we have
Yeah.
because that and even when I was thinking about the Winter Olympics, are there still younger people in ice skating? Of course, right? But again,
Yeah.
I swear to God, when we were growing up, it was like, here's Tara Lipinski, she's 13. And it's like this year I'm watching the Winter Olympics and it's like, here's Clara. She's 27 years old. She's a nurse and she does figure skating on the side. You know what I mean? Like it's just way more like healthy, you
Yeah.
know? Like
No, it's just well, and then so, and then for even greater context, I'm watching it thinking, I think at least at the start, I would have been 14. So you were 12
mhm,
watching it.
right.
And I think what was really interesting to me going through the documentary and like as I started to go through some of the seasons and share some of the horrible things that happened, I don't know if you had the same experience, but I actually and like, specifically sadly with the woman that was assaulted, I actually sort of
Yeah.
went back in time and kind of remembered like how awful that was watching it. Like that
I
was the other thing that was crazy. It wasn't like you're watching it or like, oh, no. Like I felt like transported back to like being a girl watching it, thinking like, what this is awful. In
mhm.
particular, what really got me, I remember all of it vividly. I remember the hot tub scene. I remember thinking that was awful at the time. And then what really was hard to watch, because I remember thinking at the time, like, this is so wrong, is the scene where she calls her boyfriend.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
it, yeah. So there was that made it, I think, difficult to consume in certain places
Okay.
for me
And
personally.
I don't want to jump ahead to future topics because I'm gonna go off when we get there. I got a lot to say. This is why Southern Charm is becoming unwatchable for me
Oh
because
yeah.
there are just certain things that like now it's like, oh, we don't do that.
Yeah, like what are we doing? What
And
is
what
happening?
are we doing? And this is making me feel so weird. So, and we'll get to that in a second. But yes, I would agree. You know what the ATM brought me back to? all of the real world that we watched. And like when you
Yeah.
really think about what was going on the real world, like
Insane things. Very similar stories, behavior,
thank you.
shaming, slut shaming, like
Shaming, sex,
near sexual assault, actual sexual assault, like
thank you.
yeah,
Assault because someone was queer. Like we saw people being
on,
targeted for their
on
race. That was a crazy. And we were just 12 years old watching that. I was even thinking, sorry, this is a real tangent, but like the other day I saw a clip for New Jersey Family Reunion, and I again gobsmacked at the fact that that show is still on. And so the sick part of me was like, did like Snooki get like clocked in one of those episodes? Like I
yeah.
remember that like so vividly anyway, and I go, you can't find that clip anywhere on the
Okay,
internet.
wiped
And
it. Maybe she
which
said
is
it.
great, which is good. But I
Yeah.
even remember thinking like that was such a brutal thing to be watching.
So it was insane. Yeah, yeah. So I think, them getting into all of that, I think was necessary in some ways. I also felt weird watching it on the documentary though, because it sort of felt like we were putting these people
Watch
through all of that
we
again.
were watching it.
Like, and I
Right.
know that some of them were like on the documentary, but then it was like, well, aren't we sort of doing it again though? Because now we're reminding, but I guess again, they must have, that's just something I'll let go because I assume that they were told and obviously they're there talking about it. So they clearly had awareness that this was going to be something showed on the documentary. So that part of it, tough. I think what was really interesting overall, of course, was just getting to see what Tyra and the Jays and Nigel's responses were to, really what were certain tough questions. I appreciated that about the filmmaker, that I do think that they, in some places at least, tried to kind of continue to needle some of them for their answers. But I think what was really fascinating about them doing that is it sort of exposed just sort of, I think, the lack of like really understanding why some of the things that happened
Right.
was wrong.
Right.
Like, for
Right.
instance, I remember when Nigel joined the show, you and I were so excited, like that moment of the documentary was fun because I think, you know, again, largely female audience, everyone was excited. We were like,
Everyone was
ooh,
excited. Yeah.
like this
We
will
were
be
all
fun,
we were like, yay!
Yay,
Meat.
another like something fun to look at. But some of his responses, I think I found a little bit like, Sue, you still don't get it. Like,
Well, and that's the
and it
thing
was just a
of
little strange. I was like, this is crazy to me that these people are coming on and using this platform to still look terrible. Like, I don't
okay.
know. It's
And
supposed to be your redemption. Like,
yes.
you're supposed to get us on your side.
Yes.
Recontextualize this for us in a way that we can understand. Don't like dig in on like the trauma that you caused. There just was a lot of excuses being made across the board, I think, and I understand it is a fine line to walk, and I'm sure their PR people were all telling them different things. You don't want to say too much because then it seems like you're taking accountability for something that maybe you don't believe you actually did anything wrong, especially like, some of their answers where they were like, oh, well, that was production. I wasn't privy to that, or whatever it might be, right? But I think the mature thing to do would be to just acknowledge, like, even if these weren't my choices, I was part of the show. Like, I was complicit in it by being there. And yeah, like that's not cool. You can't do that anymore. But there was a lot of like, well, that's the industry
Okay.
or
Yes.
like,
And and that's to me where I do think there is still, and again, we are not political, but we're seeing it in politics too, where it's like old guard, new guard. And old guard, they're still brainwashed. Old guard still believes whatever they believe. And that is where what I was getting from Tyra, especially, right? Where there is a little bit like, yeah, but this is Holly, like the Weinstein of it all, Like, yeah,
yeah,
but but and I think what's great and what's cool is that we are moving, intimacy coordinators is like one of the things that I'm thinking of, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like we are moving into this era of like, no, you guys, you actually don't have to join Scientology.
Yeah.
You know, do something sexual with someone, right? Like, no, like, let's call bullshit on this. And what's clear is like, hurt people, they're still hurt. They are
Yeah.
still indoctrinated in that belief. And that's why I do think the one thing I will say, if you go on TikTok and there are people who go to, I believe there's a hot coffee, but it's called like Smize and something that
Yeah.
Tyra is running. I believe there's one in New York. There's certainly one in Australia. And so she's been interviewed about that a
Yeah.
bunch. And yeah, she's still kooky as hell. She's a kook.
I mean, but so, and then the other thing I think is interesting, obviously now that it's been out, there's a lot of backlash again, um, against Tyra and how, and like, how she showed up, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm saying this necessarily like in defense of her, but I do think that broad strokes, sometimes my issue with how people respond to some of these stories or react to like these things that happened in the past is like you do have to put it into context that like she had this great idea, right? She is someone who, as they talk about the documentary, right, reached a point in her career. She's trying to elevate, she's trying to
First of all,
expand, within the confines of what she's even able to kind of achieve for herself, being a Black woman in the modeling industry. So the concept for a show, her concept for this show was very smart,
so smart.
and in a lot of ways something like to be commended for, right? Like coming up with a format that was going to be interesting that you were able to, even though of course it was UPN, you were able to sell to a network, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
And so where I do see her perspective a little bit is like you get on that ride. The reality is like if it's not you that's going to take it there, they will find someone else to do it,
The idea's already
right?
out.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we're just so critical of what is people that are just trying to like fulfill their own dreams and
Hmm.
careers. And even the
Hmm.
people she got to join her on this journey, like when you kind of start to dig into them all being fired. And it was interesting, like hearing them talk about trying to like bounce back. Like, you know, this was a career for some of these other judges, right? In addition to
Certainly.
Pirate, like they spent over a decade longer, like working on this show, making a living. So I think sometimes it's just, I don't know, I think I have a more nuanced view of things, not to like
Hmm.
excuse any of their behavior or some of the decisions that were made, but I think like, yeah, like sometimes you jump on a rocket ship that is sort of everything you've ever wanted for yourself. And hindsight is 2020.
Well, yeah. And also, you got to understand too, you're jumping on a rocket ship and everyone around you is telling you this thing is great. Who are you to stop in the middle and say, let's change everything about this to make it not great? Like, that's also in the
And
context
it's
of
not
what's
even
going
hard to like,
on.
yeah, and that's where like I do think a little bit where it's like, oh well, it's like, but you have this guy, the show creator. I was happy we got to see him. He was
I
interesting
was too. Talk
throughout.
about not trying to be likable on screen. He was like, I thought she would have been dumb model. I was like, wow, you couldn't have curbed that at all.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I thought he was great. He was just so honest and upfront. But
he was industry.
you have this partner, and I'm sure he's the one that's probably dealing a lot with like the network and then sort of translating that through to you and stuff like
Right.
that, right? So I don't know. I just think it's a little unfair to be like she was across every single. It's like no, she probably had someone coming to her saying like this is what we have to do to stay relevant. This is what we have to do. And I think at that point too, like I think you have to give her a little bit of slack for the fact that they're like, especially her having not done a show before. She's navigating uncharted territory.
Right.
Like
Right.
she's running a reality TV show in a format that's never been done before, of an industry
Right.
that's never really been profiled much, up until this point. Like, I don't know. It's not to excuse what happened. I just think that, like, you
Well, okay.
probably could have inserted anyone else into that situation and it would have all worked out the same. And I, again, I just keep
And I,
going back to the beginning. Like, I don't think she had like these terrible intentions. I think even that's evidenced by the fact that she did bring on people that she knew and were friends with and wanted to elevate to start. Like she could have casted for those roles, right?
Yes.
Instead, she's like, no, it's going to be this person. It's going to be so. I just, it's like it got out of hand. She probably should have stopped sooner than she did. Taken her own leave, right? Had power in the situation. But it's also like, look at the time. I don't know. It was such a weird time.
But with that being said, too, I would say this, and then this, we can, this will be the last thing. If you think about the current industry right now of just modeling, all right, maybe is there more diversity in story, in queer identity, in um, gender identity, right? Like, oh my God, yeah, but in general, the women who are still being elevated and praised are not skinny, they are emaciated.
Yeah.
Bella Hadid is emaciated. Alex Consani is emaciated. I mean, you're talking about people who are skin and bones and probably, I mean, I'm just going to put it out there, are smoking cigarettes and eating very little, and that's just that part hasn't changed. And I do
Yeah.
think it's all very rich to point a big finger at Tyra and say, look at this and it's like, you guys, the exact same things are going on in the fashion
More
industry.
than ever. We're
All
back to like super,
more than
super
ever.
thin is in again. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
agree.
Look
It's
at that.
so
I'm sorry, but like I find it comical where it's like Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated always does this huge like back and forth, right? Where it's like, look at us. We're celebrating everybody and then cut to like this year where it's all of these NFL moms, girlfriends, wives, whatever it is, but in general, it's like look at all of these incredibly tiny women. They've had 3 kids or no kids and they are tiny. Look at them. Look at Normani. She's got a body that you'll never have. And it's like, yeah, but we're right back to that. We're right back to selling women that the only way to be on a Sports Illustrated cover is to have a six pack because all of them, regardless of having, and which is like,
that's
yes,
why I think that that's why I
I don't
think
know.
again, I do sort of understand her reluctance to address things in the way maybe people wanted her to, because I think that
Yeah.
ultimately she deserves credit for wanting to try and disrupt that reality, right? And like again, I think there's certain, they showed like, the challenge where they all change race and the
There.
one where they, there's certain things that like obviously crossed the line and wasn't the right way to go about it, but I
Yes.
do feel like people are almost acting like she had like some nefarious like intent. And I think like as someone who like you had been sort of watching Tyra Banks before America's Next Top Model. And then once it started, like, I think we all have to like accept that she did really want to kind of show people that things could be different. And that is exactly why you and I watched the show from the night it aired. Like, that premise was very attractive to young girls because of the way the culture was, right? So, I think it is unfortunate to look back now and see that it obviously, in so many ways, was sort of part of the problem, right? And like contributing to the toxicity of that time. But I think at its core, in her head, and at least how it did appear in some of those early years, it did feel like we are trying to do something different. And that was sort of like the
Certainly.
pleasure of a viewer is being like, wow, look at that girl that doesn't look like a supermodel, because what we were trained to think a supermodel should look like, right? And then Tyra would take her and transform her into one. So I do think there was like good intent there coming from her. And so I think in that regard, like to me, that's probably why she's not willing to take full accountability in the way that people want her to. I think it's because in
Yeah.
her heart, she's like, but I set out to do something positive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually like, to be quite honest with you, I fully get that. I do. I do. Like if you in your heart know that the thing that you were trying to do in corporate setting, we are taught you should always assume good intent. And that is where I do think there are some things that I take from that and some things that I don't, but in general, I think it is good to apply to life, right? Where it's like to your point with Tyra, if the whole world is saying a 5'9", 160-pound girl is plus size,
Yeah.
then that's the definition of plus size. That was the definition.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Tyra Banks said, I'm going to create this show, and within it, I'm going to create definitions of women, and then through my keywording process, I'm going to sort those women into that. That wasn't, again, to your point, she's existing in the culture and the time that
Yeah.
it was. And unfortunately, as you remember with Jessica Simpson, that there was Britney Spears and then there was Jessica Simpson, and the two of them, one was looked at as being perfect and one was looked at as having struggles with her weight. That was the era we were in. She was like, what, a buck 20? Like, I don't even know, like a thimble. I mean, oh, good
Dark.
for us. Good for us for making it through that.
I say that all the time to whoever will listen. I'm so proud of myself. I think that like it's a wonder, honestly,
It really is because we could
that
have
I've
given in to so many different pressures by now.
so many. I
I
just
mean,
yeah.
like even like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we could do it.
I mean, I could do that tomorrow and but it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Once you start, I just feel like you'll never stop.
That's the other thing. And then
It,
eventually you'll look like a cat lady.
that
No, I with my luck, I think that if I were to do anything like that, I'd probably have like some allergic reaction. So that's why I'm holding out on any
well,
injectables or anything like that. I'll probably like be end up in the hospital that evening or something.
okay, well, I didn't know this, but I did get Botox before, as you know, from my jaw
You
because
didn't know
I
that you got Botox? Sorry, couldn't help it. Wait, just I didn't know this. I got I was asleep.
but I did it. No, I got here. I got it put it here and here
Hmm.
because I have incredibly bad jaw pain. I got it done like 2 years ago and I've never had to get it done since. Anyway, the whole
Yeah.
story is that I got a common cold after. Googled it. That happens. You get
Yeah.
sick. I
Yeah.
didn't know that because of the
Like a
botulism.
foreign like a foreign
The foreign like stuff going.
going into see this is what I mean. Just
Yeah, I
I
got a
mean
cold. I had no
yeah,
idea. I
rough.
was like, oh, okay, something to think about. I think the
Yeah.
more you do it, maybe that doesn't happen. But anyway.
Well, we didn't get to discuss what's happening Bravo last week. So I think we'll just cram together. Or we can just talk about, the most recent stuff. Because I feel like now we've gotten some progress on some of the things.
Hmm.
But let's start with Summer House. Because
Mm.
I do feel like Summer House is starting to pick up. But of
Yes.
course, there's really only one reason.
Yeah.
And that is Jesse's play for Sierra. Just outright going for it. Now, Rhinestoners, you remember that I saw the cast out at the 92nd Y before, and Sierra wasn't there, but Jesse was.
Yep.
And they got asked about it, and I feel like they were maybe now that I'm reflecting, I'm like, maybe they were just playing coy, or I think maybe they did address it, but said like nothing's going on now. I just I was honestly a little bit surprised how aggressive Jesse was being. Were you? I didn't see that coming, that he was going to be so. I mean, we're only like, it's still early in the season, right?
And I think too, it gives me a better view into maybe the relationship of Jesse and West,
Oh, I
where
don't think they're really friends. I've completely changed my whole
yeah.
view on that now. I thought they were like boys, and now I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think maybe more it was, listen, we see this happen on the Housewives all the time where sometimes, okay, it's the Sutton and Garcelle of it all, right? Where yes, do I think that sometimes people go hands in on like, I'm gonna be your boy this season, you be my boy. If stuff pops out in the house, have my back because for production, it's good to have someone in your corner,
Yeah.
especially if the edit is starting to go into a villain edit, it's good to have a friend. So yeah, I do see a world now where I'm like, maybe not that methodical about it because they are boys, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe there was a little bit of like, hey man, nice to meet you. Let's do this thing until the wheels fall off. Like I'll have your back, you have my back. But now I'm kind of thinking maybe they're not hanging out during the week because if you're really boys with someone and you're hanging out during the week and you know the weight of what happened with Sierra, I'm very confused on how you can move like this.
Yeah,
Like
like maybe they're just
weird.
boys for the show. So I also have another theory, and I think that my other theory, it could be a case of like where both things could be true, or maybe they're not as
Okay.
good of friends as we thought. And then what I'm about to share is also true. And that is one of the things I thought was interesting this episode was the singles party that we got.
Mm.
Which by the way, apparently Amanda's current beau is at that party. Um,
Yes, the guy with the mustache and the dark hair.
yes.
Yes.
So I think we
Yes.
got to see a little
Yeah.
peek.
I'm
But
not mad at it.
there was a commentary from one of the newbies. I'm not I refuse to learn the newbies' names. And here's why,
Eli and
Andy.
Bailey.
I refuse to learn these newbies' names because I cannot have faith that any of these newbies are coming back if there is
No, I
going to be
know.
another season of this show. So I refuse to learn their names.
They've got to earn it.
I just, no, it's not fair. Last, I had to learn Lexi. No, I don't want to learn anymore. Okay. So the blonde one, the blonde girl, she made
Bailey.
a comment that was like, I thought was really interesting. She was like, oh, I've matched with most of these guys here
Oh yeah.
on Hinge or something like that.
Yeah.
And then she sort of implied like the New York City, dating world is really small, which
Small.
I thought was interesting. I think one, I was thinking about this. I think probably why that is, especially coming from a woman, is because of the ratio, right? And I think
Mm.
there was even just like an article that came out that it's actually even worse now. It used to be like
Mm-hmm.
70-30 women to men, and now I think it's like closer to 80 or something. It's something insane.
Oh wow.
So I think that's probably like at play in that slim pickings for the guys, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
started to think like if she feels that way, then probably the same is true for Jesse as well, right? And maybe it is because, you have so many different types of circles crossing, right? But I do think for any of them, they're
Oh,
clearly
and it being small. I was like,
they're
wait, you
yeah,
mean it being a small pool for
it's
Jesse?
it's a
Sorry.
small pool
I'm
for
following.
Jesse too, right? Like
My
and
brain
that there's
lapsed.
still only so many
Yes.
women that are living certain types of lives that you would even view as like, and like case in point, Amanda's guy is like some influencer, right? Like, I think they all kind of are hoping for someone of this world because they feel like you have to be of this world to go on that like journey, right?
I
So I
agree.
do think a little bit of what's happening with Jesse is he's just like, I care more about finding a wife at this point in time. And the pool of people I have that I actually would consider that for, very small.
Very small. Very
And it
small.
because it was almost like that's why I was saying I was surprised about his aggressiveness, but I think if you put that lens over it, it almost becomes desperate, right?
Well,
Like he's really going for it with CR because I think he knows like how many other women is he going to meet realistically that check the number of boxes that CR checks. Like
two
I
things.
just don't I Jesse's a smart guy. I will give this to him. And
No,
so I think that's why he's like, Wes, we're not that good of friends anyways. I'm going for this woman. Who knows when I'll be around this caliber of woman again? You're taking my
well,
shot.
two things. One, absolutely. And you have to remember with Sierra, you're not only dealing with someone who marks or who checks the box of she understands that world. She's on the red carpet. She
She's
gets
already
it.
on the show. She's your
She
cast
knows
member.
you need to go hustle and try to make your singing career happen. Great. That's awesome. However, what she also brings to the table is that she's a nurse. Like she has a real career
She's
that
down to
she
earth.
can,
She's so clearly down to earth.
and that no one's going to take her license away. Like she frequently does go back to that,
Totally.
right? So I also think as a man that could be attractive because to Lindsay's point with Carl, it's like, what's the plan for when this is over?
Yeah.
Like it can't be that you're going to be an influencer forever. So there is that. And then I think the second thing to your point about that, dead on, and we always hear it when a man's light is on, going back to Sex in the City, this is the
Yeah.
constant thing, right? Where it's
Totally.
like This is how men are. When they're ready, they're ready. And
Yeah.
it's usually the first or second person. And so, yeah, I think it's like Jesse's ready. And it's like, who's in my proximity?
Yeah.
You know,
And
like,
to his point, he knows West is nowhere near prepared to make the same move, you know? But
absolutely.
so
And I'm sure
it
Jesse
was
has things to offer.
100%. So I don't know. I feel very conflicted about it because I
Mm.
do see where Jesse's coming from, but I also felt for West when he finally confronts Jesse and is like, if it was anyone else, I kind of wish West would have had the balls to just say to Jesse, like, I actually am upset, instead of
Yeah.
saying, like, oh, if it was anyone else, they would be very upset. It's like, bro,
Yeah.
come on. We know you're
Yeah.
upset. Like,
Oh, yeah, he was trying to downplay his own emotions. Well, Ben and KJ thought that that was really weird. It's like, Wes, stand up.
just say you thought it was weird too. You don't have to like
Stand
put
up.
other
It's
people.
okay. And that, honestly, I will say really quickly, if Sierra does get back with West or that does happen, that is one thing that I would like to put out there about him is that that is the type of man that you are dealing with.
Yeah.
If a man finds it difficult to stand up for himself, it's going to be difficult for him to stand up for you. And I would also just say you're in a mixed relationship,
Yeah.
so you are going to face criticism and it will be important for your
Yeah.
partner to be able to ride for you. And Wes, I don't know. I don't know if he has enough backbone. Wes kind of does play the Shep thing of like, I'm just a little boy. I'm just a boy in the world. It's like, Shep, you're 45.
So
What are you talking about?
I have a third thing too that I want to run by you, a third theory about what's going on. And I hope that it's not true. But I'm just struggling with Summer House so much. So I don't know if you saw the scenes for the upcoming
Yeah.
episode, but it looks like basically Jesse's gonna do, like he's gonna say something to someone else
Yeah.
instead of coming to Sierra about it, and then she's gonna get pissed. Okay. Am I crazy? Did that not happen last season? Did he not do the same exact thing, sort of, where like he, instead of
He,
going and like telling his intention, he went to someone else and then Sierra had the
yes.
same conversation with him? Like it all felt very familiar. And
Yes.
and where I can't help but wonder is like, is this whole thing just fucking manufactured for the show? And that's what I mean
Well,
about how they were talking about it when I saw them at the 90-second why. Like, is this just like, okay, we're 3 episodes in, this is boring as fuck. Team production. We need something to happen. What makes sense? Jesse going after Sierra. Like
yeah.
slash, and they're all in on it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it
Yeah.
just, I'm like, I don't know, we'll see how it plays out next week, but I was like, I feel like we've seen this happen before. Like, and this is why I'm calling bullshit. If Jesse was really truly going after her, I don't think he would be going and like telling, he'd be asking her on a date. Like we've seen him do that. We've seen him like lock Lexi down within
Yeah.
seconds. So that's where I'm just like, this
Yeah.
whole thing is
Yeah.
so,
You're so
it's so
right.
like contrived. Like I'm just like,
You're
this doesn't
so
make sense. Like when Jesse, like we now have an example from last season of what it looks like when he really likes someone. So now he has like
Mhm.
the ultimate woman standing before him, and we're supposed to believe he's just like going around and telling everyone else and not telling her and asking Wes's permission, which like he knows Sierra well enough to know that that's going to piss her off. It just feels a little bit like people were like, let's do this because this will be fun to watch. Because it was fun to watch. This week I was like, okay, I guess I'm kind of
It
getting into
makes me
I'm getting into
sad.
Summer House, but now I'm just like, maybe this was all just a game.
That makes me sad, but and I'm a little like I can't believe I haven't in earnest thought that because that now feels kind of crystal clear that yeah, I mean, you're right. When he was into Lexi, it was rooftop bars, it was going out with her parents, it was really kind of being someone that I think maybe he wasn't to service
Well,
that. And
yeah.
so yeah, you're
He
right.
wants
Like,
Sierra. The Jesse of Yor would be out getting her. He would have
uh-huh.
locked it down within this episode. I just don't,
Yeah.
the whole like asking Wes permission to kiss her. I just don't buy that.
Well, this is why I do think a
So
bit. I do think, and we talked about this previously, yeah, I do think with the Kyle and Amanda of it all, we're in a similar situation. I think the difference is that at least this is what I'm feeling like, only because some of the stuff that they've put on camera is stuff that I would be shocked that anyone would want on camera this season. So my estimation there is like they thought that they were much better partners than maybe they are. And they went hands in on like, we're not together. We're going to shoot it like as if we are together, but struggling. And then I
Yeah.
think they got into the house and got into this dynamic and realized, like, oh, this is going to be much harder. We're not actors. And it's going
Yeah.
to be much harder for us to act as if we're really together. And I think they're kind of shooting themselves in their foot a little bit with what they're doing. So yeah, I think
I don't, it's just none of it's feeling real. I miss Paige. It's all just feeling like we're
I
struggling
did
for
get a jolt when
storyline.
Lindsay came back.
Yeah, I did. Yes. Lindsay being back was nice.
I did. I was like, okay, like she is even with like the Ben thing, right? It's like I'm sure Lindsay took down Ben that night. I don't know if you saw them on Watch What Happens Live, but Andy was like, so like, did anything ever? And Ben doesn't say, he's just sitting there like, because he has a girlfriend now, right?
Yeah.
So he's just sitting there like tapping his fingers on the thing. And Lindsay's like, he said that he wanted to be a girl dad, so that was something. And then Andy goes, "Yeah, but like did anything happen?" And she goes, did anything happen?" Because he was asking specifically about when they
Yeah.
met, right? And she's like, "Did anything happen that night?" No. And then Ben's just over there like I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it didn't happen that night. It happened that morning. Like knowing
Yeah,
Lindsay,
like
she moved quick. She's splitting
she does
hairs.
bring like she definitely for sure brings like a different energy, but I think
She's a grown woman.
even that is something I'm struggling with that it's like oh she's on Sun episode, she's not on others, like I don't know. I
And also, like, really quickly, and this is not to judge anyone's like journey, okay? But there is a little bit of like, okay, I'll make this quick. Lindsay being like, well, yeah, now I have the baby, and so I don't have to really think about that, and I can just like make out and have fun and like test the waters because I already have done the baby thing. And like, I understand that baby does have a dad,
yeah.
so it's not like they're gonna miss out potentially on that. But I also just I don't know. I guess maybe the cynic in me thinks that there's something kind of sad about that. That it's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm happy. I've had the baby. I'm not
Yeah.
going to worry about that baby needing a two-person household and not wanting a stepmom and a stepdad or a girlfriend and a this and half brothers. Like she just has kind of no care for the light, like how complicated that life is going to be because it is just more complicated. And sometimes that complication works out beautifully
Yeah.
and sometimes it doesn't. And I don't know. Again, I'm not judging. I guess I'm just like, oops. I'm not
Well, I'll judge
judging.
a
I
little
just
bit.
would want more thoughtfulness, I guess.
I think for me, this is where I've struggled with her, especially as someone who didn't watch from the very beginning, is like, and you know, and again, I know people love her, and I do love her personality, but I will say this whole like she's over the Carl thing has never been believable.
Oh, no way.
Every time it comes up and she's like, I don't even I think there was something this episode, I don't even think about him. I'm like, girl, the way you sound is like how someone sounds when they're still thinking about that person. So you can say it all you want, but we know that's not true. And I think in that regard, like she never healed. That is why it's always been hard for me to watch everything that's happened since the fallout. Like,
Yeah.
I think that she would never admit it, but I think she was completely humiliated by that breakup, blindsided, just, and instead of just taking some time to deal with those feelings, feel the feelings, reflect, process through, mourn, get closure, all of that, she was like, gonna go focus on another goal, gonna get a baby, and so
Yep.
that's why I think like for me, I don't know if she's ever gonna come across as authentic again because it's sort of just like she's already on this like path that I feel like is more about her just like proving that everything's fine and that she's amazing and like all of that. Um
Agreed.
So
Agreed. And you have to
it's a little
understand,
tougher.
like, okay, this is the thing about what you're saying that is so freaking true. Is like knowing, being someone who watched Summer House from season one, you guys, this is like, okay, put yourselves in this shoe, okay? You have a best friend who's a guy. This guy is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
You ride for this guy for years. You see him through everything, right? Like you see him through the bad relationships. You know what a mess he is. You know he, in your mind, does not measure up to anything that you would ever want permanently in your life, right? But then, right, you're alone, he's alone, you make out, there's a spark. Now this guy who's been your best friend, who you would never put in that category, you're like, I'm gonna give him a shot. All
Yeah.
right. The guy that she gave a shot didn't want her. Do
Yeah.
you know how much that would fuck with someone's head?
That's the thing. I do feel bad for. I think for any woman that is like it is a terrible situation. It's awful. I agree. It is. It's messed up. And not only that, for him to like arguably then up level himself and have a glow up after leaving you.
Whoopsies.
Now he's
You
got his
know?
shit together.
And say what you will about soft bar, brick and mortar. I know he admitted that brick and mortar is hard, whatever. It's still up.
Yeah, he's doing fine. I mean, at least he seems
It's still
healthier.
making money.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
get
know.
it. It's like, how they call it like wife buffers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
she's gonna
Exactly. She is the
really lose
ultimate
it
wife buffer.
when he proposes to someone. That's really gonna be
I
very
completely
tough
agree with
because
you.
that
And
will
the
be
reality is too is like Carl is not faultless. It's very hard to be with someone who struggles with addiction. Like these are not easy,
no.
we are not sitting here saying that he is some, but I do just, what we're saying is that yes, you have to understand that of course that messed her up.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Okay, so this is what I would say. Just a quick rundown from me. I don't care about Dora. I don't need that.
Yeah.
I think Mia's doing something. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. I think I kind of like it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um, Levi and Bailey. I like Bailey. Bailey
I like
talks
Bailey.
too much, so she's
Yeah.
gonna need to figure that out.
I do like Bailey though. Blonde
I
girl.
think I think KJ falls into this category of like actually is interesting.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, too pure for this, I think. I just
I
don't.
I think the verdict might still be out on him. I felt like we got to
Okay.
see more of him this week. Like that
Okay.
was funny when they were like, "Oh, he had two girls on his lap," and showed the picture.
Yes.
His sort of like emotional maturity might work in his
Baby
favor.
bro energy that he brings is
Yeah,
pretty
I think if
sweet.
he can kind of like come out of his shell a little bit more, then
I
he
agree.
he might be able to be, you know,
Yeah.
successful.
And then Ben falls into this category of guy that I would put Rob from The Traitors or from Love Island in, right? Where it's like, yes, visually stunning. I just am of the camp where it's like, I continue to not get it. I don't get the Rob thing. He's incredibly boring on screen. I don't
I also don't think
understand.
he's attractive. I know
I
I'm gonna get like flack. I don't know why people
the
think he's
hair, the Brillo pad hair, like again, like literally Corey Matthews hair. Like if you are a
yeah.
Boy Meets World fan, I guess you're standing Ben right now. But like that also to me, it's like they're trying to say Matthew McConaughey. I'm like, that's not Matthew McConaughey hair. No.
Also, this is like so mean and judgy, but his side profile, like, what are we talking about? Like, I
I
don't
think
understand.
that this again, it's like
Just the way
it's
they're
like
acting. I'm sorry. It's not like, okay, he's not ugly, right?
no.
But I just would expect like if women are reacting that way, like you better also have an amazing side profile. Like that to me is
And
true
an
attractiveness.
aura.
Is you got to have all of it. You have to look good from all angles. You can't just be
Right.
like straight on, and then from the side it's like
Okay.
I,
This is this is the one thing that I will say about Craig Conover, okay? That I think if I had to guess, and I can tell because I watch the man on screen, I'm sure if you're like in Craig's aura, like, and this man is smiling at you with that smile that he does, that's like his
yeah.
full face is in on it. Oh my God, I'm sure it's very hard to deny. Like, and that is the thing. Like, maybe Ben does have an aura around him that you can't, that is not, because he's not an actor.
Just
He
not
cannot,
translating to camera.
right, he can't translate it. But yes, there are people like that, but I don't see that from Ben.
Yeah, I just don't get it. They're all fawning over him, and I'm like, I guess,
I
like,
guess. I don't
he's
know. It kind of
fine.
feels like scraping the barrel because he fits into the most categorically attractive whatever.
Yeah,
He checks most of those boxes and therefore he's attractive, I guess. But I
yeah.
think we should all want more for ourselves. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, anyways, we'll see what happens next week, but I feel like judging by the scenes, my theory is going to be proven right. I feel like this is just a blip
Yeah.
so that, we can get a little bit more excitement around this season that's really not exciting. Um, I don't know if exciting is the right word. It's actually definitely not the right word because it's not exciting. But Southern Charm has picked up, shall we say, in
Oh,
terms
has it?
of the drama. And watching this week's episode, like I already know you're gonna feel the same way as me. I am just sort of over all of their complicity in some of these moments. Like the whole thing is reading so gross with Benita. And I just feel like just take her off the show.
You guys. Okay.
Like I just don't like I
Uh,
just I'm confused because I truly believe that like the majority of the Bravo universe is not watching the show in order to observe racism. So
no.
why are we continuing to do this? And this is where I really struggle with like the Craig defenders, right? Because there is absolutely no chance that Craig would ever talk to any of those white women seated at that table the way that he talked to Benita.
Mm-hmm.
He just wouldn't
No.
put money on it.
No. No. And I also will say, okay, that sometimes where my annoyance comes is I don't understand. I understand this. I understand that off-season things are off-season things and they're not on camera, and that people hate to talk about off-season things sometimes because it feels unfair to the general narrative of the show that we're watching. Okay, fine. However, we live in a world where every off season that has come, whether it be BravoCon, whether it be a story that came out of
Yeah.
Florida where the boys are in Palm Beach, where we are literally hearing Shep is getting kicked out of a casino because he's hurling racial slurs at the dealer. That was BravoCon 2025, I believe. Okay, there's been so many cases of these guys being nearly arrested for being belligerently drunk, right? Being face down. It's just I don't understand. I saw a TikTok that came out of like Shep obviously coked out of his mind. I'm sorry. Allegedly, everything I say is a lie and everything is alleged. But like, obviously coked out of his mind. So it was when Sierra, that I believe was her
Yeah.
name, and he's drunk and he's shoot. But I mean, he's foaming at the mouth. These people are taking a video of him and he doesn't know it, right? And he's just shoot left, right? And it's like that video became so clear to me where I'm like, these people are trash. Like, they are racist trash. Maybe not every one of them, but I'm sorry. Shep and Craig for sure.
Totally.
And then Austin, I don't know, because to me, okay, you're complacent in the Vanita stuff, is rooted in racism. And then if we're going to cut ahead to the Sally stuff in the van, you're sitting. This is Austin.
Yeah, I couldn't believe like not. It's okay. It is tough. Where I feel conflicted with Austin, I still think regardless he should have said something. I also understand his mindset though, in that like we've all known people like that where sometimes it is better to not engage because you are just going to get them more fired up, right? And so I do believe Austin when he says in that moment he was just trying to let it all just die down, right? But his silence still comes at the expense of Anita. And that's where I think like you got to make the judgment call in the moment to say, F it, repercussions be damned. I'm still going to speak up for my friend and say that this isn't okay. And I thought it was so weird that we have like Whitner saying it, who clearly like does not like Vanita based off of previous episodes. Like that's how we know it was bad, right? Is that like Whitner is now coming to Vanita's defense. So
it's so, and listen, we've said it before about Vanita. You should always go where you're wanted, and Vanita has not been wanted on this show for a
yeah,
long time. And so, yes, does it mystify me a bit why she herself continues to show up to filming? Yeah, it
it's
does.
getting really painful to watch.
It is. It's just like, wow. And you know what? And I'm going to take it a step further too. For me, the elephant in the room as well is the colorism of it all. Because we were fine with Sierra. Shep wanted her. We were trying to, it was like treat her well,
Yeah,
and then it's like cut to the darker skinned woman, and for season after season we've treated her the way that we've seen people treat her. And I also just think that there's something like even disgusting about that,
yeah,
that it's like, oh, when they're closer to whiteness, then they're closer to someone that we can respect,
yeah.
right? And it's like
Well, and here's
that's
another thing I'll
mm,
say too, like to that point, like because we saw the scenes for the next episode. So I think that you can make, I think what's going to happen is people are going to be able to make an argument that's like, well, look, he does the same thing to Sally, right?
oh, sure, I agree.
But
Right.
even what I would say to that is it's very different to be at a dinner table
Yeah.
in public where you're all there supposed to be enjoying a nice dinner together and be spoken to like that than to get later into an evening, more drinking's happening, and now you have an altercation happening in a car. Okay? It is. It's just
It's
different. And I and
nice.
so I it's not trying like obviously Craig's an asshole in those situations, right? And like it's unacceptable behavior. But I think that's where like I feel more for Vanita because it's you're being embarrassed in front of everyone. Like everyone
Thank
has
you.
their attention. That
It's an
it's
undressing.
it's a very different thing than like, oh, he went off on Sally, the
Yes.
van.
Yes.
So
And the silence at the table at as Venita, the silence that followed at the table from the people that the silence came from says, I agree.
yeah. Or at
You in
least
my
I'm
life
not,
also are not shit.
yeah.
That and
Well,
that's the thing that as a person now you're stuck on a trip with these people.
you can't do anything.
I would feel
I,
so unsafe. I
I
would just
think
feel
the
so
main
unsafe.
thing that I took away from this episode is that somewhere Paige is just laughing her face off.
Ain't she though?
She's just like, it's so crazy now to reflect on like all of the shit people were giving her for leaving him as if she was leaving a god. And now we are getting some of the most unhinged behavior. And I think where it's going to go really bad for Craig too is like, to your point, there's a history of this stuff on this show, but like it does hit different based off of what's going on in the culture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think now you have him targeting like Sally, who's like could not be more prissy and dolled up and all these that like the epitome of like, the Southern Belle, right? And he's still doing this. So I
Well,
just,
here's
it's 2026, dude. Like
2026
it's
and
not aging well.
I will say this and this will be my last thing, okay? And this is where I get passionate, okay? Men don't change. Very few people change. Okay?
Yeah.
It's very hard to change who you are as a person and become better. You really do have to want that and work at it. So that's just one thing. And then on top of that, it's very we all you hear it all the time. It's very hard to change a man, okay? I just Amanda said it this week on Summer House with Kyle. You're going to have children with these men? Okay, so
Mm,
you think you can handle it. So Charlie thinks that she could handle that. Charlie thinks, oh, I can't control him. He's a yeller, whatever that is, whatever. You think that's going to stop if you have daughters in the house?
yeah.
You think that when they annoy him, he's going to have some sort of reserved part of himself that has never existed before that now is able to come to the fore and be a good dad and not yell? It's like, no, if you're married a yeller, you married a yeller. And Amanda said it on Summer House too. Like, is he going to be mad dad? And it's like, yes.
Well,
Yes,
even
you
go
will.
back to last season, he's admitting that he's an alcoholic and he has a problem. This season, everything that we witnessed happen this week was spurred on by him drinking too
Alcohol.
much, So I
So
don't know. It's just I'm feeling, it's the same thing with Summer House, but for different reasons. Like, I just think some of these shows are really reaching an inflection point where it's
yes,
time to take a step back and just sort of
yes.
reflect on like the dynamics and what we're even trying to say anymore and what the point is. Because I mean, I hate to say it because it's also like we're going to keep watching and that's why they're doing it. But I don't want to keep watching. This is what it's going to be. I don't need to see in 2026 women be verbally abused.
No,
I,
I would watch it if in that moment, like Rod, Shep,
anyone, text him.
any of those guys, Whitney, if any of those guys would have, Whitney's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. It's like, if any of those guys would have been like, absolutely not, go cool off, leave the table. Vanita, are you okay? What do you need right now? Right? Like, if that, it wouldn't have been hard to do. And the not even resistance, but the unwillingness to do that at all says a lot to me about this cast. Honestly, women included. I mean, I know we've been focusing on the men,
He is
but
unhinged. He's unhinged. Like, I meant to go back and look, but I'm almost positive that the thing that he got set off on from Sally was a compliment.
yeah, she told him something about his hair.
I think she was actually gassing him up, and that's what caused him. So I don't even, he's so like angry that he's not even listening to what people are saying at this
And
point.
this is why I'm Team Austin, because Team Austin's whole thing is like, you're telling me that you have a debilitating addiction that's changing the way that you approach life, the way that you approach your relationships, and now this year you're telling me that that's not true and that you have a fine relationship with alcohol, and as evidenced by what's going on, that's not true. So yeah, to the page laughing at all of this, my goodness, if you don't think that this last season on Southern Charm, when Paige and Craig were still together, there was a scene, I'm sure Rhinestoners, if you're watching, you all know what I'm talking about, where she's sitting at the breakfast bar and he's making eggs. And she's basically saying that, if they get married and she needs to leave, she will leave, with the kids. And he's like, oh, I know you would leave. And I think it was when she was
Yeah,
explaining that this is why she would continue to want to work and have her own
yeah.
whatever. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, why are we, if you're already having a conversation about the worst night of your life, why are we already talking about that? Some night where he's gonna get too drunk, lose his shit, and you're gonna have to get in the car with your two kids and leave?
Yeah, it is dark. It is sort of a dark conversation for like a young
What?
in love couple to be having. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It looks like next week. I'll be curious to see like what the fallout is, but Southern Charm, man. We gotta rethink. I'm
We
starting to
gotta,
I'm
we
starting to
gotta rethink.
also feel that way a little bit about Beverly Hills because Rhinestoner's full transparency. I fell asleep during
Yeah,
last
I
night's
don't know.
episode. And I
Yeah,
just
I
want
don't
to
know.
say I think there's a reason. Nothing's happening. Right? What's going on? Do you remember? I mean, I just okay, like from what I remember while I was still awake, the most interesting thing that happened was watching Dorit buy up that store and then get
That
her
was
card
good.
declined.
We do love a moment, a shopping moment.
But no, getting her card declined.
I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was
Okay,
the
I'm sorry.
moment.
We
That was
do
the
love an
moment. I
attempted
don't care
shopping
about her
moment.
buying up the store. That's fine. But like, and then the like, oh, the whole. That's not what happened. It was not fraud. There ain't no money in there. There ain't no money in that account, girl. We know. She played it
It's
off well, but I was like, obviously I would have been dead if the second card declined as well.
It's so it's so bad. It's so bad. And this is the thing too. It's like it's sad because when you turn the age that we are, you realize how much and how little money is. And I think this is the same thing with like the women of New Jersey, Teresa, most notably, who always finds herself in some sort of like insurance fraud situation. I'm not sure. Where it's like you're making so much money, you're getting taxed so much out of that money
Yeah,
because you're making so much money. So what you're actually making, though good money, is not what it all appears to be. But because you're making that sort of money, you think you need to appear
a
to
certain way or
a
like have
certain
certain
way and show up a certain way.
yeah,
So now, and this
totally.
is, when people are mystified about like, well, how do people get into credit card debt so severely? And it's like, this is exactly how it happens, you guys,
This
because
is Wendy and
it,
her husband
yeah,
on Potomac. Like they're trying to keep up a lifestyle.
exactly. Because it's not cool to be the CEO of a tech company living in a 3-2, right? Like you have to be a CEO of a tech company living in a mansion. This is just
Yeah,
right, because then your employees are looking at you like, what's going on? Are we not healthy? Are you poor? So it is these things that are built into the civilization that unfortunately we have made for ourselves. But yeah, it's just like I'm sure Dorit is making 100 grand an episode, if that. That feels rich to me, considering how many women are in Beverly Hills. That's going to get taxed at nearly 50% an episode, probably, because she's probably like a contractor or something. So if you have 8 episodes a season, I don't know, you're making maybe less than 500 grand. And I know that that sounds like good money, you guys, but when you're spending $4,000 every time
yeah.
you try to, or and you're the
Well,
nut
I think she's also probably
mortgage,
adjusting to like knowing what things cost too, like it seems
right?
her and PK have a lot of like, where he's like, I've got it,
Yeah.
or whatever. So I think she's on
Look
that
at where
journey too.
Erica is living and like let that be a lesson to everyone that like that's why she's living in basically what is a one-bedroom studio
Yeah.
because I'm sure that rent is commiserate with what she really can realize. And I think Erica's smart. I don't think that Erica is
Yeah.
gonna like shoot herself in the foot with finances moving forward at
No,
all.
I don't think so either. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that was felt bad for Dorit. I felt even worse for Dorit later on because I didn't I didn't love the whole like Kyle calling Bose to say that Dorit's going crazy with her spend.
Yeah.
It's like for a couple different reasons. I think one, we know as like audience members that like obviously Kyle and Bose did not immediately connect last season. She talks about that on the episode, right? So there's something about that that makes the whole moment just feel so strange
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it's like now you're calling like her better friend in the moment to talk shit about
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
That's where sometimes like I struggle with Kyle because I hate when she does that stuff, but it's also just Kyle knowing how to produce a show.
Yeah. She's good at it.
Like Kyle is going to do whatever it takes
She's
to
good. She
make
wants that
sure
show to
that
get
like
another season.
we're delivering quality television,
Yeah.
So I do think sometimes it's just her playing producer,
Yeah.
but that just registered as like weird to me. One thing we didn't get to talk about that was more interesting from last week's episode. I was very, very happy for the return of Denise Richards.
She looks great.
And I think that they should be trying harder to get her back on the show. I'm sure
Yeah.
they probably have, but I think they should be trying harder.
Yeah.
Um, that was a very vulnerable conversation,
Hmm.
and I think I'm also enjoying sort of this new Erica Sutton friendship. And so it was really interesting having Sutton be there for that. And then, of course, we got Erica's kind of, now she's starting to share more about being in a similar situation herself. But
Hmm.
we didn't get to talk about that last week. And I thought that was such an interesting scene.
Yeah.
And I think it's also interesting when you lens out in that, those of us within the Bravo universe will often talk about Beverly Hills as like, the fanciest of the franchises, right? Or
Sure.
at least that
Sure.
these women, at least in previous years, maybe not all the time, but they used to be married to very wealthy men, or they still have a lot of wealth themselves for whatever reason. But it is sort of dark when you think about that and then think that these women are still facing
Yeah.
these kind of challenges,
Yeah. Yes.
and they talk about it too, is like it's that reminder of like it can happen to anyone.
Right.
So it's like they're having that conversation on the show, but then as a viewer, you start to think about it and you're like, yeah, this is sort of crazy that
Yeah.
like it's Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
And we're sitting here watching a conversation about domestic abuse.
I know.
Like it is sort of terrifying as a woman, I think, because you're just like, fuck, it's Denise Richards and it's Erica Jane. And this is what they're talking about, you know? Like I just
I know. It
don't
almost like it makes me even think about like the
really sad.
Mauricio style of it too, because in my brain it's like, okay, how do I say this succinctly? Sometimes I feel like this is a little bit what does happen to women in general when you become a mom, though, where it's like because being a mother in a lot of situations almost does make you a little bit the default parent because kids naturally kind of go to their mommies for like that love, that
Yeah.
cuddle, that comfort, you know? And so it does put you in this role of like, in the household you're providing something completely different than your husband or your significant other is providing. And so there I think it does make us vulnerable to then take a back seat to things like, yeah, being so up to date on the finances because it's like, okay, well, I'm breastfeeding, I'm doing this over here. Like for 7 years he was over there doing like holding us down because I
Yeah.
was over here fundamentally holding us down in a different respect. And then you pop your head up and it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to mess up what's going on now. Like he's got it and I'm doing my thing. And it's
Yeah.
not about women not having agency and it's not about women letting their husband. It's not any of that. It's just what happens when life goes by and you just
Yes.
kind of assume these roles, right? And then you wake up one day and this is how I relate it to Denise and it's like, "Oh, in doing all of that, I've given this person complete and absolute power over me."
Yeah. I was just horrified
Whoops.
listening to how like that he was doing some of this like post surgery. Like
He
I
had her so weak. He had her so where he wanted her.
yeah.
He was so hurt. And even like, going back to their documentary or their series that came out, Wild Things, right? Where, even that she relies on him to be the photographer.
Yeah,
That's
he was
so
helping with her
nice.
shoots and things
I
like
don't
that.
have to I don't have to now pay someone that it might be a creep who's going to take these photos and do something weird with them, right?
Yeah.
Because hello, that you're setting yourself up for that too. It's like it's my husband. I'm totally comfortable with him. So even that, it's like he became her everything and then took advantage of being her everything.
Yeah.
And that's so sad.
I think what was even sadder is like I think I had blocked out too some of the stuff that happened when they were on the show
Oh, the
together.
squeezing of the hand and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
because it wasn't just that. There were other
There
episodes
were.
where he was also like pretty aggressive
Yes.
verbally, and I think even that's like tough to look back on
With
now
the
and think
women
about
too.
like that probably like this was the nature of their relationship from the beginning, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And it is weird now that you're like, oh, okay, what was really going on?
Yeah.
But I miss Denise. Bring her back. I think that
Oh,
that would
the only
be
other thing I would say about that though too is like I do think, especially with him, I think there might be a little bit of well, he's like a big macho man. That guy is like incredibly muscular. Like he lives in the
yeah,
gym. And
totally.
it's like, no, don't fall for that either. Just because someone is like big, muscular in the gym, unless that person is like taking roids, which would give you a reason why they would be angry, that doesn't have to mean that they're like an aggressive, you know what I mean? Like I do think a little
Yeah,
bit of
like
that
you
would
can
be like,
exactly. It doesn't have to, but I think in
oh,
this
he's
case it definitely did kind
yes.
of mean that. It was an indicator. So
He's
yeah, I don't know.
really
I mean, I know that, we've seen some of the scenes to come, and I know that things are going to get really dicey with Dorit. So maybe some of these trips coming up are going to be a little bit more interesting. But I do just think, I don't know, real, it's taking a dip for me right
the
now.
clip that I saw of next week, though. I don't know. Did you see the clip where Rachel's talking about how she cheated on Roger before they got married?
No, I don't know if I did.
Oh, it's so good.
I might, sometimes it gets cut off for me, which is very frustrating.
Oh, she's attitude. She's telling Dorit and Kyle. Okay, this is spoilers for next week. She's telling, and we'll see if this is actually could have been edited differently. She's telling them about how when they were dating, she ended up sleeping with another guy. She told Roger this the next day he proposes. So Dorit at the table is like crazy. Kyle at the table is like this. Cut to Kyle in her like confessional. She's like, Really? You're gonna cheat on him right before? Well, wasn't that just a premonition of then what was to come in their relationship? So Kyle's taking this fun thing that Rachel is sharing and gonna weaponize it against Rachel. And I'm
Oh,
like,
I can't wait.
oh, here we go.
That
The
will be interesting.
demise of Kyle and Rachel is nigh.
I mean, the demise, let's be real, it was never there. This whole thing's a facade. I think it goes back to what we were talking about the Hamptons. Like, the only reason Kyle is there is because she's the only other one that Rachel views as like
That
having
could
enough
act right.
status to be in
Yeah.
her, but we already know that they are not friends. If
Do
if
we?
if Rachel has been good friends with Kathy Hilton for this long, and then the way that they all introduced Rachel
That's
was
fair.
so they're not friends. They
That's
both of
fair.
them clearly said, "Oh, I know of Kyle, I know of Rachel because of Kathy." Okay?
Yeah.
So if that has been going on for that long and Kyle and Rachel have yet to form a friendship after years and years, there's a reason. Why?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they would have been friends. It would have been like Kathy would have been like, "Oh, Kyle, meet my friend Rachel. You're gonna love her. You guys will be friends too." No, there's a no. So that to me is just like I this whole like, oh, they're gonna somehow get no, they're not. They're not going to. We're gonna see what Rachel really thinks of Kyle, I think.
We're gonna watch what happens live and let y'all know.
Well, that actually is the last thing I will say that also could help maybe restart things. But I'm not sure if you saw Lisa Renna on Watch What Happens Live.
I did.
And, it's very obvious that Andy is in like full blown apology mode,
Right.
going
He's
around
redemption
throwing
touring.
out. Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think here's my theory, Rhinestoners, based on what I'm saying. I think he knows that Bev Hills sucks right now.
Uh-huh.
So I think he's cozying up to Rinna because I think he is probably trying to get some of the OGs back. Because what else are
Um,
you gonna do, right? Like the reason they can't reboot, the reason like Jersey is struggling is because viewers are like done with Jersey, right? And
hmm.
done with some of the people, done, it's just like we're exhausted. But people are not opposed, I think, to Rinna coming back, to Denise coming back. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to see Vanderpump back, but like I think Beverly Hills is a different situation where they could reboot with some of the older people and it would work because the older people are still wildly successful. This isn't like a Sonia Luann like has been situation. This is like Lisa Retta is on Traders. Everything's fine. So I thought that was very interesting, all of the apologies. And I think if he is, getting right with her, now's the right time to put her back on the cast.
I have
I want to see
Andy,
Rachel
I
Zoe
know.
and Lisa Renna have a conversation.
Oh my God. I mean, hello. Okay, but I also, okay, Andy, if you're listening, this is what I want. I want a Real Housewives 25 to 37 in LA. These are some casting notes for you. Alex Cooper. Yes, and her hottie husband. What's it like owning the Unwell Network and having all of these podcasts and being blonde and beautiful in LA? Like, let's follow her. Then we could follow Avery Woods, who's on the Unwell Network with her, who's like a famous influencer. All right. Who else in LA? Oh, because it reminded me, Hillary Duff. All right. She
Yes,
was getting interviewed because she just,
she'd
and
be a
I'm
great
like,
host.
man, she's so personable and fun, like in an interview.
They should
Out,
hire her friend group because
oh,
I even think it would be fun to see Mandy Moore because she would be like one of the like crazier, like like she's more reserved, like
yes,
kind of this great juxtaposition to some of the other ones.
yes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
young mom, all the kids are toddlers. You're shooting like the drama of like I had my first birthday planned for Kingsley on the 5th of April and she came around and she planned it on the 6th because you know that shit happens.
You
You
want like
know,
you want like the Valley set in Beverly Hills,
yes. I want
basically.
the Valley in Beverly Hills with notable people, with women,
Yeah.
and that's what I want from the next iteration of Real Housewives, where it is, I am fine a little bit with the Amanda of it all, because Amanda was also on Watch What Happens Live, and I will say, there were a couple things that she was saying where I was like, Amanda's making some good points here, you know?
Yeah.
And one of the things was like, I don't understand why my thing has to be a scam just because it has like spirituality involved in it. And I did think like, it's kind of a good point, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like if you and she was saying like the reason why I get so much money from it is because women like it. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, also a good point.
I
Like,
mean, people are choosing to pay her. It's not like, yeah, I don't think she's
she's
running.
not, she's like, I'm not taking your money. People are
That's what
giving
I
me
was
their
gonna say.
money.
She's not running a scam. People are
I'm
willingly
not
like,
running a scam. So I do think that they're and they asked her about being sorry to bring my point home there. It was because they asked her about does your husband ever feel a type of way about you talking about basically making more money? And she said, "No, I'm the breadwinner and we know that and that's fine."
yeah,
And I think I mentioned Alex Cooper to say, now I do think her counterpoint makes good money as well. I don't know his name, but he is someone who makes good money. But that is a woman who's making millions and
yeah,
millions of dollars and actually is self-made to some degree because her parents didn't give her $100,000 to start the Unwell Network. She took a 9 to 5 job at Barstool. She came up with a cool idea. She did that idea until the wheels fall off and got handsomely rewarded from it. So to me, there is something very sticky in showing like women who, yeah, have a lot of money, but did it like Hillary Duff has been in the game for so long, putting in her dues.
I know.
That's
I she would
very
be she would be
interesting.
good for like on a reality show. I'd be down for that.
I would love, I think actually, and I think her little bitch husband would be great on it. Like, I think he would like to be in front of the camera. I think
I
Matthew
do.
Conant
He
would be
he
like,
does seem like someone
yeah,
who enjoys the spotlight for sure.
yes, he likes the spotlight. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Well, so we'll see. I think maybe more excitement to come next week on
Yeah,
both of them. So we're kind of in that mid-season point, but
yeah, that's the thing. We're kind of like, okay, how's it all going to end?
waiting for more.
Is there more
Well,
blow up or is it all just downhill from here?
yeah, I think probably we'll
We'll
see.
see.
I don't know. Well, Rhinestoners, that is another episode. We missed you last week, but we're back and we'll be back here again next week. When are the Oscars? We still no Oscars. We're a couple weeks away,
I
right?
thought that we were so much closer to the Oscars than we were when I said
I
that.
think maybe it's just a week away. So
I think
we'll
so. Okay,
definitely
so we're looking at March 15th. So now like 2 weeks away.
okay. Maybe we'll think about doing like some pre-Oscar coverage. But
Yeah, we could at least talk about some film. You saw Wuthering Heights, but that's probably is that Oscar? No.
no. We will I'm sure there'll be some more like news items that pop up in the next few weeks. But
That probably won't even make it to next year's Oscars. It'll be so far gone. That's the thing about
oh
the
yeah, no,
cycle.
that's it wouldn't get on into
You have
but
to release these movies right on time. All right. Well, Rhinestoners, we love you.
love you, sissy.
Love you.
Have a great
Love you.
weekend.
Have a great weekend. Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.